Welcome, everybody, to the Hardcover Hooligans podcast. My name is Mac. As always, is with me, Danilo. Danilo, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
Who do you think is cuter, Aragorn or Boromir?
I mean, one of them's kind of corrupted and evil, and one of them's the perfect embodiment of masculinity, so I'm going to have to go with Boromir.
Correct! Everybody loves an edgy bad boy. Boromir, I think, is the first character in literature where you could describe, you'd be like, I can change him. He's a bad boy, but I can make him better.
Boromir's the first character in these books where I'm like, oh, that'd be me.
Yeah, like a regular guy, like freak the fuck out. I'd be like,
no, we're using the ring. Like, you're all crazy.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, right. I can put it, I'll be fine. You guys are the weak ones. I'm awesome. So we are reading book 2 of book 1, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
They're all split up into
two. Part 2 of The Fellowship of the Ring.
They're all split up into 2 books, but Danilo, I'm not sure if you've opened your copy of The Two Towers, but did you notice it starts on page 456?
I did. A little birdie told me, and by little birdie I mean the internet, is that they're all technically one book, and the publisher was just like, dude, we're not doing a 1,500-page book.
It's a little big, but I mean, I have my edition. I mean, I also have the single copy editions, but the one that I like the best is one full edition, and I don't know, it's big, but I have read a larger fantasy novel than that. So
yeah. Maybe it's just
anyway,
the 50s. The paper was thicker and they couldn't do it.
They didn't have doorstop fantasy novels in 1954 or whatever.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine?
Bring back. Side tangent. I think. The Lord of the Rings is a perfect argument against fantasy bloat. You get a lot of lore you don't need, and a good story and good characters, and it doesn't have to be a million words.
And there's just 3.
And then it's done. And then he's like, I'm done.
Right, and there's if you want the lore, you can go read the Silmarillion, but you don't have to. It doesn't. It's not like
they're not
required
at the beginning
reading
of every chapter.
No, right. It's not. The Silmarillion is not the Lord of the Rings' Mistborn secret history. Okay, so Danilo, I'm curious to think, you said that, we talked about you were cold on the prologue, which I think most people are, and then hot
that should be at the end.
Yeah. Yes. And then you were hot on the rest of the book.
Yes,
What did you think of the second half?
You know what? It's consistent. Loved it all the way through. Again, I think what I said before, the biggest challenge has been untethering my brain and visualizations from the movie to what's on the page. And I think that's been going pretty well so far. I think that's definitely harder in this second section, but I think I ended up pretty well, because it has all the iconic stuff, the Mines of Moria, Elrond, all that stuff. It's easier with things like Lothlorien, which is in the book for 2 seconds and nothing happens there.
Or in the movie for 2 seconds.
In the movie.
Yeah. I find I actually forgot, I feel like I always forget that the first half of this book feels pretty different, and then the second half of this book is pretty spot on the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really impressive how spot on it is. Mm-hmm. Except, and we'll talk about this, the end of the movie is how Two Towers begins. The book. Right. There's not Boromir. I don't know what happens to Boromir, but whatever happens to Boromir doesn't happen at the end of this book. It happens at the beginning of the next one.
I believe he departs, because the first chapter of the next book is called The Departure of Boromir. That may be understatement of the year, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. What happened to your grandma? Oh, she departed back to wherever she came from. What?
She wanted my ring, and I told her to go home.
Yeah. And me and a bunch of my creepy friends who came from the mud shot her full of arrows. All right, so do you want to just hop right in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Frodo awakes, and he's like, oh, I'm not all fucked up anymore. And Gandalf's like, oh, you missed a lot. We got to talk about the Nazgul. We got to talk about Ringwraiths. We got to talk about where they are. But don't worry. The water sort of destroyed them. not really.
Did we talk about this last time? We talked about
but they talk about
meetings.
it in many meetings,
they do.
and then in the next chapter, in the Council of Elrond, they talk about like they sent out scouts to the river, and
just more details. Yeah.
They found in the Council of Elrond is where Gandalf actually says like, they just like wear cloaks to like fit in, which is crazy, right? Like if they can just do that, why would they pick the scariest? Like they should just wear like a suit. Like I imagine a suit and a baseball
what's
floating baseball
scarier
cap?
than like a ghost king running after you on in a tuxedo, you know?
Exactly.
Oh, that's just a guy. I'll tell you where Bilbo Baggins is.
So they call the Council of Elrond here, and it's like a secret meeting, and it's just Frodo who's invited, but Sam is there too. It's described he's sitting in a corner, and then
he's just sitting on the ground, and then occasionally chimes in.
Yeah. And the
I was
council,
going to say, Council of Elrond, more like info dump of Elrond.
Yeah,
am I right?
Info dump of Elrond, and then Gandalf tells a long rambling story. But at least the story is interesting.
Yeah, and it's if you didn't know it from like seeing a movie, you'd be like, oh, you know.
Yeah. So this is where we meet a couple of characters who are a couple classic characters. Here we meet Gimli and Legolas and Boromir. Boromir is the prince of the Steward of Gondor. Legolas is the son of the Elven King from The Hobbit, whose name he is named in this Thranduil.
Yep,
the Elven King. And then Gimli is the son of Danylo. Do you remember?
Oh, he's the son of. Is he the son of Balin? No, because Balin comes up later.
It's Gimli, son of Glóin.
Oh, that's right.
Glóin. Balin, they were friends with, who is also unfortunately. Wah, wah.
Yeah, he comes up. That's why I thought that. But
I had to look it up. By the way, I couldn't remember who Gimli's dad was either. So, yeah. So,
definitely more tie-ins to especially this part, into The Hobbit than I was led to believe, or that I thought. I thought I was just like, oh, it's just Bilbo at the beginning and the ring, and then it's sort of its own thing. Like, I really didn't expect, like, oh, the dwarves are related to other dwarves and all that stuff.
It really makes it hit a little bit harder when you see, we'll talk about it later, but Balin's tomb, and Gimli's like standing there, and he like refuses to move as like the orcs are coming in. Like, that is, man, I get emotional.
I was actually invested in being like, oh, they gotta go see if Balin and the company are still alive, because like I knew them from the other book, whereas in the movie that doesn't really come across, or I don't know if they mention it. It's just like, oh, it's sad. I don't know.
Right, and it is very sad. Boromir. Okay, so they talk about the ring. They talk about how it was forged, how it was lost, and Boromir refers to it as Isildur's bane, because, listen, as we all know, Isildur, son of Elendil, cut the ring from Sauron's finger using the blade Narsil, Elendil's sword. Wait a minute. Yeah, Narsil is what it's called. Anduril is what it's called, and it's reforged. But Narsil cuts
I could not possibly hope to correct you on any of that, so...
I think I'm pretty sure I'm right. He cuts the ring from Sauron's finger, and he puts it on, and he leaves a series of scary notes, like notes about a man so clearly slipping into insanity and paranoia as he takes the ring and thinks that it's going to save Gondor, which is really sad. I think.
Yeah.
That they had the perfect chance to destroy it, and yet they did not, unfortunately. But it's tough.
Well, you got to learn that lesson somehow. Someone's got to learn the lesson that you can't. No one's above, the corruption of the ring. Someone's got to try it.
Someone did try it, and it ended poorly when he was waylaid by orcs, and the ring was lost in the river, and then a little creepy ghoul man found it.
Mm-hmm. And then Gandalf and Aragorn scoured the countryside, found Gollum, and tortured him to get all this information.
Oh yeah, yes,
and then did. Lost him.
Whoops. Sometimes you torture a little gremlin and you lose him. I don't know what to tell you.
And then the people you give him to feel so bad for him that they like give him some food and then he escapes or something.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Isn't that what happened? Like they gave in to Thranduil in the mountain and like keep him in the darkest, deepest cave, please.
Yeah.
and then they felt bad, and then he escaped.
They let him climb a tree, and he didn't come back down. That's what happened. That's actually what happened.
That's right. This poor guy needs some air. He won't escape.
Which is so funny. It's like the exact... What I love is that without saying it explicitly, they obviously felt so bad about how they treated the dwarves. They were like, we're never doing that again. So the next time they get a prisoner, they also escape, but he's like a much worse person than the dwarves ever were.
The one guy you shouldn't do that for was that guy. It was Gollum.
So Gandalf tells his side of the story about what happened. He went to confront Saruman the White, and they have a pretty intense conversation.
Yeah.
And then I love this part where Gandalf realizes that his cloak isn't white. It's in fact like every color ever. And he's like, I'm super evil now. And then there's no like wizard fight here. That he does just take Gandalf up to the roof and is like, "Fuck you! You're gonna sit there for the rest of the time."
I think it feels more menacing than the movie. I'm gonna be making a lot of comparisons to the movie,
okay.
But that feels more menacing in the movie because you sort of know he's bad, but you also. In the movie, you sort of always know he's evil. Like, you get in there and you're like, oh, this guy's evil.
His tower looks so evil.
Right. But the way, like, Gandalf talks about him and the way everyone else talked about him, like, going in the conversation, like, I can see, like, if you don't know he's gonna be evil, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
He's turned now? That's not good.
It's good. I like it. And then Gandalf sees that they're like they're strip mining the land. Like right right behind the tower. He didn't notice that on the way.
He just has to look to the side a little bit. Yeah. Oh.
And there's like orcs and whatever, and then Gandalf, he calls the eagles. Yep. Listen, so then just why you already called the eagles? Why can't they just take the fucking ring to Mordor?
Why can't they take the Mordor?
Well, they can't, Danylo. That's why. Okay, they can't. There'd be no fucking story. So this is where Boromir's like, "Hey, just give it to me. I got my sweet horn. I got my cool, dark, sort of reddish hair. Like, I got it. I can do it." And they say, "No, I think you're crazy." And then, I'm sorry, Boromir had a dream. He's like, "I had a dream that a little man had it. What does it mean?" And there's like the only little guy at the meeting who's like hasn't
Boromir's
said a word the whole
only
time.
one who doesn't know that
he is the
Frodo
only one who
has
doesn't know, which is very funny. So they come up with the plan. They're like, "All right, we have two course of action. We can either hide it forever, or we can destroy it. And we can't destroy it. So where do we hide it?" And they're like, why don't you give it to Tom Bombadil?" And then they're like, he doesn't care. He does not care at all.
He's going to lose it.
Yeah. And then
he's going to lose it, and then Sauron's going to find it. He's going to give it to Sauron.
Right. "Oh, this is yours?" "I don't want you to be upset with me, so you can have it." So Tom Bombadil might lose it. "Oh, why don't we keep it at Rivendell?" "Oh, then it's just going to be everything is destroyed except for Rivendell, and then Rivendell's going to get destroyed."
Yeah.
Why don't we just throw it in the river? And they're like, "That might work, but he says lands change."
Right?
Yeah, they say throw it in the ocean, and Gandalf's like, "I don't know if the ocean's going to be there in 10 million years." And he also says, like, the scariest thing of all time. He's like, "There's scary shit that lives in the ocean." Like, you want one of those things to find a ring?
Imagine a squid with the one ring.
That's true. He's got 8. He could almost be his own Nazgul army if he had one more arm.
A squid with all the rings. This is what we need.
This is a sequel.
Please tell me that's what the Silmarillion is about. Yes. The Squid Marillion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like it's like kind of like a porn thing about a squid. We'll read it. We'll read it.
We'll read anything on this podcast.
They're like, "All right, we're gonna have to take the ring, and there is gonna be a small group," and then everybody sort of like puts their heads down really awkwardly. And nobody wants to ask. And then Frodo says my favorite thing ever in the whole world. He says, "I will take the ring to Mordor, but I do not know the way." Oh,
fucking awesome!
It's
like such a powerful moment. It's amazing
because it's described as like he is surprised he's saying it, and like his brain is like, no. It is I love it. I love it.
Well, and just thinking about it, like they don't know they're in a story called Lord of the Rings that everyone knows, and so like they honestly, like, he honestly thinks, like, oh, I'll just hand it to someone who's better. But then, like, him slowly realizing that, oh, maybe he's the only one who can do it, and that, like, he can and should, and it's, like, the right thing to do. Man, it's just, like, a tiny paragraph on the page, but that was awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. So they all thank Frodo, Elrond especially, and there's going to be 9 of them, one to match the Nazgul.
So they can take them 1v1.
Right.
In case the worst comes away.
Frodo, Gandalf, Aragorn, Boromir, Legolas, Gimli, and Sam. And then they're like, oh, but that's not 9. That's only 7. Who else is going to come? And then Merry and Pippin offer themselves, and Elrond's like, I think this might be the worst idea ever to send you 2 fucking morons with them. But friendship is friendship, so you become the Fellowship of the Ring.
And Boromir is so against having more hobbits. He's like, we're already taking 2.
Yes. Yeah. But can you imagine, like, I think Boromir, I love Boromir. Like, as a character, I think he's excellent.
He's who I would be.
Yeah,
like, that's
because
what
you're
I'm saying.
like,
Like, in all seriousness.
Like, why do we need 4 of these little guys? Like, what are you talking about?
Do you know more people means more stuff we have to carry? We could just be 7, you know?
Yeah. So Frodo's really down, and Gandalf's like, don't worry, buddy, we probably won't have to leave for a couple months, which is like, that doesn't help. We still have to leave. Like, I don't care if it's not for a couple months. You still might die
later, but, you know, we can wait here for a little bit.
And Bilbo's like, he's like, hey, come here. You want to see some cool shit? And he has a little box, and he opens his box, and he's like, I have a bunch of stuff from the previous book. And he gives him his sword Sting, and he also gives him his mithril shirt, and he says, don't let anybody catch you with this, or else they're gonna want one from me. I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble. I gave it to you. Which they don't. Once the party finds out he has a mithril shirt, they say 2 sentences about him and move on. They don't really care.
It is for all that sweet tension later.
The elves also. Aragorn's like, yeah, they reforged my blade. I'm the king. Whatever.
Yeah, because that's a bigger thing in the movie where he just shows up. He's like, you see this shattered blade? It's gonna be reforged. And the next time we see him, he's like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, literally. He's like, I renamed it, but it's the same sword.
It's the Flame of the West or whatever.
Yeah. Anduril, the Flame of the West. And he's like, I'm probably gonna kill a big bad guy with this, probably. He doesn't, but we'll talk about that later.
This is not, there's no good time to bring this up.
Yeah, please.
But I think when Bilbo says, I believe it's a place, it's called Mikel Delving or something.
Oh, yeah.
I keep thinking it's a guy. Like, I read it. I'm like, oh, I got it from Michael Delving. Like, who the hell is Michael Delving? Every time I read it. I'd be like, no, it's a place. It's like a little town or something. It's not a dude who has everything.
That is so funny. Where'd you get that from? You've never talked to Michael Delving?
Like,
he'll
Michael
just
Delving?
give you stuff. He has stuff, and he'll give it to you.
He has lots of stuff, and he'll give it to you.
I think it's the museum, the museum in the Shire.
Which the name of a museum?
Or like a place with old stuff. I don't know everything, man. Why is it crazy that it's a museum?
Michael Delving is a museum?
No, it's called Mickle Delving. Oh my god.
Anyway.
So the Fellowship, they start walking, and they get to. Oh,
Sam is worried about some rope.
Oh yeah, they have no rope.
Sam is like, we forgot rope. I need to know. He's like, I think in the Council of Elrond, before they leave, he's like, I got to remember to grab some rope. And then later on, he's like, I forgot to get the rope. And in my brain, that felt like a D&D joke. Because it's so like... But I'm like, this is pre-D&D, because everyone's always like, oh, we got to get rope. And then no one ever uses rope in their D&D adventure. And it's like a big joke. But it's so pointed in here. I'm like... Tolkien, big D&D head.
Well, do you think
made a rope joke?
Do you think, like, so if you don't know, folks, Gary Gygax, creator of Dungeons and Dragons, I think, is that right? I think that's right.
Yeah, I think he's one of the guys. Yeah.
I mean, they probably read, not probably, they stole a lot from this, but do you think like they took that and they're like, adventurers got to have rope. Their ropes are going to be in every puzzle we make because Sam didn't bring any fucking rope, and they kept like falling down holes and getting stuck places without it.
I'm sure there is some little aspect of that. That'd be interesting. Is he still alive? Or maybe
I think so. We can email
We could
him.
ask him.
He would never admit it though. He would claim that he came up with the Misty Mountains.
Goblins.
Yes, he invented goblins and orcs in the Misty Mountains. It's crazy that in the Faerun and Dungeons and Dragons it's just called the Misty Mountains. I can never get over. That's insane.
Yep.
Speaking of the Misty Mountains, it is where they walk to. And this, folks, if you've never read the book, this is the scene in the movie where like they're playing tag or whatever on like some rocks. And
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, they're like sitting around smoking, and then they look up and the birds are there. Remember?
I actually don't. I haven't seen the movies in a little bit.
Okay, I gotta remember how to pronounce this because it's not Caradhras. That is wrong.
Oh yeah, the mountain. I love because Gimli's like, oh yeah, those are the 3 mountains, and we all have names for them, and like one of them's nice and 2 of them are evil or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. The Red Gate of Caradhras or whatever. Oh, the Red Horn. Yeah, you pronounce it Caradhras. You do not say Caradhras.
And their plan is to walk over them, because going too far to the south.
Yeah, Gandalf and Aragorn, they have like a conversation where they're like, I think this is a bad idea. And Aragorn's like, shove it, old man. We're going to do the thing I came up with. And the party's like, what are they talking about? And we'll find out what they're talking about. But they're hanging out, and they're like, weird, there's no goblins. And then a bunch of scary like birds show up, and they're like, run for the scary bird.
Those birds are watching us.
Yeah, which is terrifying. Like to think that, you know, to be conscious of your. All right, we're on the lookout for orcs, and we're on the lookout for wargs, and then you're like, oh my fucking god! Like birds could just be in a tree, just like looking.
Well, and that's the interesting part about the scaling up of like the threat level. Like, you know, when you're going through like the Shire and everything, you're like, oh, there could be a black rider around every corner. And then, because we talked last time about how like there's like the islands of safety, and like in between is where the danger happens. And this really ups the ante in terms of like, oh, the danger could be anywhere as like Mordor's influence expands. Like it's it's like in the ground, you know, it's like in nature more than just like, oh, it's a spooky dude.
And it's changing really fast because Boromir brings up, he's like, can't we just go around? And Gandalf's like, you obviously don't get out much. No, we can't go around. It's scary over there. We don't really know why, but we're just told it's scary.
They'll definitely see us.
Yeah, just on the wide open plain. You can't hide from birds.
And isn't there like a whole aspect of this too where they're like, oh, they don't know we're moving yet, but they might at some point, or they know the ring is on the move or something.
They would know. They would like see a big army coming and then know something's on them. Oh, they say they
talk about like Mordor knowing that the ring is somewhere, and like
right. They say to Gandalf says to Boromir, he's like, it's easy for you to just walk around because nobody cares about you. But if like 9 people are coming together and fast from like the good part of the world, then they're gonna be suspicious.
It's like, oh, they have the ring.
Right. It's him. That's Frodo Baggins.
Oh, it's the party of heroes.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, Gandalf's the most powerful guy ever. Right. He probably has it. So they try to hike up this mountain, which does not end. That doesn't end well.
It's like a dead end, which I thought was super. I mean, makes sense why I was cut out the movie, but I thought it was super interesting. Like, oh, they go this way, and then like nature / the mountain is like against them or against the progress of the ring, and so it snows a bunch, and they have to like turn around and go back.
So this is in the movie, but it's not presented as if the mountain itself hates them. It's just like snowy, because we get the scene in the movie where Legolas is walking on top of the snow, and they're all like, "Fuck you, man." I wish I could do that.
And it's not portrayed as like in this, at least my impression of it was literally a dead end. They're like, we walked all the way up this mountain, we can't get any more, so we have to walk all the way back down. Or like, how do we get back down now? You know, because of all the snow.
And then on the way back down, a bunch of wolves try to fuck their shit up, which is just the worst. Like, it's just a very real moment where they climb all the way up this fucking thing and then all the way back down and then right to literally the same exact spot, and everybody just sort of like sits on the ground and like puts their head in their hands. Zero progress has been made.
Yep.
On the most important quest of all time in the whole universe ever. So this is where Gandalf brings up again. He's like, there is a second option. We can go to Moria.
I've been saying this the whole time.
Right. We can go to Moria. It's probably okay. Like, I came through Moria, and then
I came through Moria once 50 years ago. It's probably fine.
And I totally remember. I definitely remember. Just trust me. There's no way I get lost in there.
And without me, you don't have any lights. So
right. I get to choose where we fucking go. Nobody has dark vision except for Gimli. So they
go to Moria.
Yeah,
which
they
is
do go to Moria.
A kingdom. It's like an abandoned dwarf kingdom under the mountains, right? And the idea is to walk under the mountains since they can't go over it.
And Moria is where a bunch of the dwarves from Dale, Erebor, went to try to like reclaim the great
from the last
mines of Moria.
Because wasn't that like the whole plan? Is like, okay, we'll get the treasure from Erebor, and then we'll get strong again, and then we'll like be able to restart our kingdoms in Moria.
Yeah. Yes. And led by Balin, and at the we forgot to say this, but at the Council of Elrond, Glowin talks for a really long time, and like he's like, we haven't heard from Balin in 35 years, but I'm sure it's probably fine.
He's probably just really busy getting started with the new kingdom. You know, he just hasn't had a chance to, let his friends and family know that everything's great and that he's alive.
So they get to Moria, and they have to unfortunately traverse the scariest lake of all time.
Which is not in the movie.
No, Danylo, would you like to talk about the lake?
Yeah, so they like go up some stairs, and there's like a big lake in front of the door to Moria, and it's like really still, and they sort of they go around it, and Frodo keeps hearing like splashes and gurgles. And they're like standing in front of the door, and is this before or after they say like the password?
It's when they say the password is when all the shit hits the fan.
Right. So there's like a secret riddle code, and Gandalf can't crack it, and it's like something. Speak friend and enter. And they try a bunch of stuff, but it turns out all they had to do was say the word "friend" in Elvish, and then they all feel really dumb. And at that moment, a giant octopus attacks.
Yeah, it's scary, man. Because fucking Boromir woke it up. He got so frustrated. He got so frustrated at a riddle, he started throwing things like a little boy, and he threw a big rock into the lake.
And I was like, dude, Boromir, chill. You're not even trying to figure this out. You're just sitting here while everyone else is trying to figure out.
I love the speak friend and enter, because it's just like, can you imagine? You just like, remember when shit wasn't all fucked up and you could just say, hey friend, can I come in? They say, yep. That's crazy, man. Yeah.
And they kept overthinking it.
They talk about this book is the third age of Middle Earth. Mm-hmm. And people like when they talk about the Lord of the Rings, they describe it as like post-apocalyptic fantasy. Because
interesting.
Because nothing is good in it. Like, Moria is all fucked up. Like, it wasn't, for most of its time, was not like this. But then they found Durin's Bane.
The glory days are over, sort of, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like,
which is cool. But, it didn't really matter that they, the door opens, and then immediately a big squid destroys the door anyway, so then now they're trapped.
Well, we have to talk about Bill the Pony.
Yeah, you said last time, you're like, my favorite pony is Fatty Lumpkin, and I said, just wait.
Now, Bill the Pony is a great pony.
Yeah.
And the more he works with his friends, the healthier he gets. And he comes along with them. And he travels through the snow and carries all their stuff. But Gandalf's like, we can't bring a pony through the mine.
Yeah, can't see.
He can't see, can't see, can't climb.
Can't see.
Sam's like, what? And so they leave him outside for the octopus. But Gandalf whispers into his ear, and says, "Oh, Bill's gonna be fine."
I wanted to find what he said. I love what he tells Bill the Pony. I want it to be on my gravestone.
It's about like you'll find your use your knowledge and your instincts, and you'll find your way home or something.
Yeah.
And his little swishing tail, like every time Sam talks to him, he like swishes his tail. Excellent, love it.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible. He says, "Go with words of guard and guiding on you. You are a wise beast and have learned much in Rivendell. Make your ways to places where you can find grass, and so come in time to Elrond's house or wherever you wish to go."
So Mac, you want horse advice on your grave?
Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. I'm a horse, okay? I want an old man to put his hand on my rotting, fetid corpse and tell me that I can go chew cud or whatever with an elf.
Hopefully there are many good salad places in heaven. I think that's the human translation.
So they're in Moria, door locked, door gone.
Yeah.
So there's no turning back.
The squid attacks, and then squid could have the ring. Could have given the squid the ring right there.
That's
missed
true.
Opportunity, I think.
You say that Frodo remarks there's just a sentence, but he noticed that the first thing the squid went for was him. Because we don't know why, but it's probably definitely 1,000% because he has the ring, which is terrifying.
Well, and then the squid attacks, they all run in, and then the squid ruins the doors and traps them inside, and they leave a bunch of their supplies, and they don't have any light. But good thing, Gandalf is magic.
Yep. So he casts light.
He casts the light cantrip.
Yep, exactly. And he leads them through Moria, and at first it's like fine, and then Gandalf gets like a little lost and confused. It's like the way it's described is that it like is constantly moving up and down and left and right, and then they reach this point where there's like 3 passageways. Mm-hmm. Or wait, is that when it happens, or is that after Pippin throws a rock down a?
No, but they take a long rest.
Yeah, they do.
And
literally.
then Pippin throws a rock down a well, and then they start hearing like thumping.
Yeah.
And then I think it's there's like 3, one goes up, one goes down, one goes straight, and Gandalf's like, we're doing the straight one.
Yeah. I love Pippin throws a rock down the well, and then Gandalf's like, how about I explode your fucking head? He's like, you do something like that again, I will fucking kill your whole family, and it won't even be like the toughest thing I did that day. And then he's like, I'm just kidding, buddy. How about you get some rest? But it's stressful, man. I like that the way that it's described in the book. I like that it almost feels like Pippin couldn't control, like something like he like looked into the well and like something happened where he couldn't control himself to like throw something down it.
I don't really pick that up on that, but I sort of felt like it's, if I was hanging out by a big deep hole, I'd throw a rock in it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it could be either.
Especially if, no one explicitly told me not to. I'd be like, what could the actual harm be? And throw it, like, you can't not throw a rock in the thing.
Well, what they didn't tell him is that there's a sleepy guy down there with a drum set, and he wakes up and he just starts playing.
It's like a Birdman. It's just like, and then it's all one. It's all one take. It's all a oneer for the rest of the Moria.
Yeah. After their long rest, Frodo swears he can hear something following them.
The pad of small footsteps.
Yeah, which if you're not stupid, instantly you the reader like that's Gollum.
It took me a while to realize that it was Gollum, or to remember
really?
that it was Gollum.
I didn't mean to call you stupid. No. I have read this book
it's
before.
Okay.
Just that's how listener. That's how I talk to Danylo a lot, and he's just like he just sort of rolls over. He lets me play with his tummy metaphorically and literally
and physically. I like scratches.
Like Danylo said, there's a path that goes up, a path that goes down, and a path that goes forward, which is like, I don't know, just build a better mind, right? Like, what's up with this bullshit? So they choose the one that goes forward, and it's like the biggest, scariest, darkest room of all time.
Yeah, they go, it like descends a little bit, and then it's like, I think it starts out straight, then starts descending, and then after a while, Gandalf's like, we've gone too far down, we missed the gate.
We missed our exit.
And they get into like a huge room with like skylights, basically.
Yeah, and this is the room where it's Balin's tomb, right?
Like, yeah, it's like a room,
it's like an
off to the
offshoot of this
side
room
or something. for me, the whole Moria thing, it just felt like bigger than in the movie, you know? Because maybe like they're there for longer, or like it feels more huge, which, you know, I understand, you know, in a movie. It feels like tighter in the movie. Because they like sort of get in and then right away they have a battle. But like they're in there for like 2 days before they see anything else alive in the book.
What it doesn't feel like in the movie, there's like this shot of them where it really looks like a mine, but Moria never feel like is described as a mine. Like it really feels like the walls would be like completely and totally like smooth, and like this was like an ancient place of real like it was a kingdom in a mountain.
Yeah,
and this is what it would look like. And they find Balin's tomb, and it's sad. And Gimli's not like super surprised. He's like, we didn't really hear from him for a long time. But he's still very sad. And then they find a record book. I love the record book. It's like essentially what Monty Python is making fun of when they. Have you ever seen? You remember in Holy Grail when they.
It's like writing as he's dying. Things aren't going well.
Yeah, exactly. So they find the thing and they're like, day 1, everything's great. We're starting to. It's heating up a little down there, but that's probably fine. And then it's like day 47. It's like they're all dead. They're dying.
There's only 4 of us left in this one room.
I love it. Oh, what is it? Let me see if I can't find Ship of the Ring. The Book of Marzabul.
In the chamber of Marzabul.
Oh yeah, it is a grim reading. I fear their end was cruel. Listen, we cannot get out. They have taken the bridge in Second Hall. Frar and Loni and Nali fell there. 5 days ago. The pool is up at the west gate. The watcher in the water took Owen, which we know him. That's Owen. He got eaten by fucking the squid. We cannot get out. The end comes. Drums in the deep. They are coming. Oh, fuck.
Well, it's like, he's reading, he's like, the end comes, then drums in the deep, and he stops reading and says, I wonder what that means. Anyway, the last words are, they are coming. And he's like, huh.
Yeah, weird.
Could that be the drums we're hearing now?
And
I wonder what that means.
Instantly, you hear the drums again. They're like,
dom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They couldn't mean those drums, could they?
They probably hired a band and they got lost and they forgot.
Drums, and Owen dropped his drum set into that well, and that's what they mean by drums in the deep.
And there's a cool, and fucking Dave Grohl is down there, and he's fucking, he's awesome down there, man. But no, unfortunately, a bunch of orcs are on their way, and they barricade themselves in, and they're like, well, we're gonna need to make a decision here. Which way do we go? And then right when they make their decision, the orcs bust in, and the hobbits kind of start fucking shit up. They're cutting off limbs, and Aragorn and Boromir obviously are. They're chopping off legs and like chopping off heads. It's crazy. It's like a violent fight scene.
I know.
And Sam kills one, and Merry and Pippin kill one, and Frodo.
They can like hold their own.
Yeah, but except for Frodo, who instantly gets rammed with a spear right in his shoulder, and the only reason he didn't instantly die is because he has mithril.
Yeah, his mithril underneath his shirt.
And Aragorn runs over and he's like, I'm fine. And Aragorn's like, oh my god, you're the strongest guy I've ever seen. He's like, his mind is like, he's like, I will do whatever you say. Real recognize real, man. He's like, it's like seeing a strong guy. It's like seeing like a really buff guy at the gym. You're like, oh my god. You're my new dad.
You did it.
My new dad. Yeah, you did it. You're the king of men. Anyway, they Gandalf's like, run away, and they run down the stairs, and then they're looking up the stairs, and then there's a big flash of light, and Gandalf explodes out of the room and falls down the stairs.
Which I believe he threw like a grenade in there, right?
Yeah, literally, like he did like a
magic
shutting
grenade.
Yeah, it was like a holding spell that he's like something big. They're like Gandalf points up the stairs. He's like, okay. Something really bad is on the top of those stairs. And you know it's bad when Gandalf's like, he's like panting and sweating, and he's like, I could not face that whatever it was. And everybody's like, okay, old man, whatever, let's just keep running. And so they do. They keep running right into the hottest. I've never seen a room described that's been more on fire than this room that they run right into.
There's lava on the floor. There's lava on the ceiling. And they all just like jump over the lava.
They do. Yeah, they all just jump over the lava.
It's like 9 feet long, and everyone's like, and Mary also made that jump easily. I'm like, what's going on here?
And then they turn around, and I think Legolas at first is like, "Oh, Balrog! It's a Balrog!" And it turns out that's what's they see in the book that in Glowin talked about it. Durin's Bane. They the elves of Moria dug too deep, and you think the reader like, oh, Durin's Bane, like it's like it might be greed or like what happened to Thorin who got like dragon sickness. No, it's a big demon.
It's a demon.
It was just a big guy. It was a big guy in there.
You know when you dig too deep in your backyard and you dig up a demon?
We've all been there.
That's why you have to call XL Energy first, so they can mark all the marks on the ground, so you don't accidentally dig up a demon.
Whatever your department of transportation or like the people
energy,
who maintain, Department of Energy, but they didn't have that. They just have a bunch of small men who love drinking and they have pickaxes.
I'm like, we'll dig as deep as we want, and turns out stuff can go wrong.
Stuff can go incredibly wrong. This is so. Let me just. I wanted to talk about this for a second. Let me just pull up this thing here. Okay, we're gonna talk about Lord of the Rings lore for a second here.
Oh, I may know where this is going, and I have an opinion. So,
just to talk about the Balrog. So, the big thing. I suppose there is a magic system behind all this garbage. You have the angels. That's all right, they're gods, which are the Valar. Okay, there's like a god of the ocean and whatever, and then each of these gods have like super powerful servants called Maiar.
Okay,
and they have like physical form. So like Sauron is a Maiar.
Oh,
He's of Melkor.
Morgoth, right?
Yes, exactly. Gandalf is a Maiar. His name is Olorin, like that's his angel name. And the Balrogs, there are more than one, are also Maiar. So think of it like these two are on the same like celestial level of power.
So there's like the gods with no corporeal form, and then there's like their servants who like do their bidding in the real world, basically.
Yeah. Well, they do have forms, but it's not as if like it's not as if they're like walking around on two legs.
Sure. Yeah. That's right.
But
I mean,
Yes, that is, and the reason like there's evil in the world of the Lord of the Rings is because they formed the world with music, and Melkor was playing dissonant notes, which formed like evil, and that dissonance corrupted a certain Maiar, and they're called like Maiar, I think, or Maiar.
And I believe that's why jazz is evil, right?
Yes. Yes, and that's why music was banned in the Footloose town.
Because of the Maiar.
Because Melkor was there.
That's really the unsaid subtext of that movie.
But yes, so this Balrog, like Durin's Bane, is not like that's not his like name. That's just what they called him because Durin was the king. So yeah. Anyway, that's just to give like perspective. Is Frodo Baggins, some guy, is watching two angels fight each other, mostly like in their heads, but also physically a little bit.
Right.
You said you had an opinion, Danilo.
Oh, I believe there is some discourse about whether the Balrog has wings.
Oh yeah, we could talk about this. What I have a pretty strong, definite opinion about this. What about you?
My opinion is no wings on the Balrog.
Really?
Yeah.
My opinion is wings, but on the Balrog.
Because the way I imagined it described in the book is really, it's like a shadow monster, not a lava demon like in the movies.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I love how the Balrog looks in the movie.
Oh yeah, totally. No shade on that. But like in the book, I think no wings on the Balrog.
You are, of course, referring to the line where the Balrog is described as having like shadow-like wings.
Yeah, some
or
of
like
the shadows spreading like wings.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah.
But then, literally later, it's like the Balrog closed its wings. Like that's, and it's like, okay, so what are you talking about? Well, no. But it's like, were you talking about? Is he referring to like the shadows like on its back? Because he never says like the Balrog flies. That's not what he says. Right. But I think it has wings. It's just like. He can't fly. He just like looks as scary as possible.
Right. And what's scarier than big wings on a demon?
Right. Nothing.
And then it makes sense why it would, fall down.
Right. Yeah. Just fly up. Are you stupid?
Why didn't the Balrog have the eagles take it to Mordor?
I thought all of these people sort of had each other's phone number, could just like call for help whenever.
Eagles have wings. Balrog uses the eagles.
So
anyway.
this part of the book, this might be an overstatement, but my favorite thing ever.
Now, for reference, Mac is about to get married soon. To ostensibly the love of his life, so to say the bridge of Khazad-dûm is better than his fiance, I think is a big deal.
But I mean, come on, it's so good.
No, I get it.
It's specifically like, okay, so a lot of like the Lord of the Rings is about like friends being there for each other. And for me and like stories, that is my like kryptonite. It could be the worst. Like the parts of Mistborn I liked were when like friends were there for each other. I love that. Or like when, we have men have me especially, I can have a hard time like talking about my feelings in a very like stereotypical, you hear it all the time, stereotypical way. I can sometimes struggle with that. So I love Aragorn, a man who's like, I don't care, we can talk about whatever, man. Like I try to, you try to like emulate that.
I'll kiss you.
Exactly. You try to emulate that as much as possible. And there's a moment where Aragorn does, I don't know if Boromir does, but Aragorn knows like that the Balrog, he understands that like Gandalf is an angel and all this garbage. He knows that. And Boromir, who doesn't know that, just turn around and see the craziest thing of all time and are like, we'll help. And then just start running to help Gandalf. That is the craziest thing. Like, that is so inspiring. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's like corny to say. Fuck
I don't
you
know.
if you
I
think
don't
that's corny to say. That shit is awesome and incredibly inspiring. And it's so real that Legolas and Gimli do not. They're like, fuck that.
Like, it seems like he's gonna take care of this, and if he doesn't, he's buying his time, so...
Yeah, he says, he cannot stand alone, cried Aragorn suddenly, and ran back along the bridge. Elendil, he shouted, I am with you, Gandalf. Gondor, cried Boromir, and leaped after him.
Oh my god.
Dude,
that's
awesome. That Aragorn says the name of his ancestor, and Boromir's like, he's like, Minneapolis! America! He can't think. Oh my god.
Joe Biden! He runs. No, yeah, if I ever get faced with a demon, I am yelling the name of my hometown.
Danylo, do you have a hot take that in the book, he says you cannot pass, not you shall not pass? That, I remember the first time I read the book, I was like, what? Why? Like, why change it? I think you shall not pass rolls off the tongue better, but it might not be, grammatically correct. Gandalf says you cannot pass, and so Gandalf strikes the staff, the bridge of Khazad-dûm, it's what the chapter is called. And the bridge collapses and the Balrog falls. but his scary whip.
I think giving the Balrog a whip is like a stroke of genius. Like, mwah.
Yeah,
like you
awesome.
wouldn't, like, Scary Demon doesn't need a weapon, but you give him a sword and like a 9-tailed whip, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I love that. He in the whip, like, he's fallen down, and it seems like for a sentence everything's fine, but then the whip latches itself around Gandalf's leg, and he says, he goes, "You fly, you fools," and he gets pulled down into the depths.
I was surprised that happened, like, beat for beat, like the movie. Like,
yeah,
that's
literally.
almost exactly what happens, which I thought was great.
Something I think is pretty funny in the audiobook that Andy Serkis reads, when Gandalf falls down, he goes, "Fly, you fool!" Well, as if, like, he's saying, it's like, come on, man, you didn't have to do that. That's goofy as hell.
Well, I mean, you know, I sort of knew this was coming, so I don't know if it hit home the way that maybe it would. I'm very excited to, like, you know, read this to my kids one day.
Yeah, I know.
So that they can, like, experience it. I frankly was more sad about Bill the Pony than it was about Gandalf, but I think that's because I know the story.
And also, it's always tough when an animal who doesn't really grasp anything dies in any sort of story.
It'd be interesting to. I've always thought this was interesting in, like, literature and media when people are more emotionally sad and invested in animals dying or suffering than people, even though, like, rationally we know that, like, human life has more value or something like that, you know, like you wouldn't save your dog over your sister or something.
No,
but I just thought I just find that's an interesting psychological phenomenon.
I think it's interesting too, because that is not how I operate. Like, I have never been, I mean, in real life, I am always very sad, like, when I hear about that. But in, like, movies and stuff, I've never once been like, oh, the dog died? Like, I don't care.
Yeah,
unless
I know,
it's, like, important to I'm not stupid. If it's called, like, oh, the dog is the main character, I'm like, no! But that's different.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily affect me so much when Bill the Pony dies or like, fucking, I can't think of another example, but something like that, as much as it does when, like, Gandalf dies. So I feel
I just think it's an interesting
psychological
phenomenon.
Hey, let us know what you thought was sadder. Well, we don't know if Bill the Pony died, Danilo.
That's true, but yeah.
But there's a huge squid out there.
But it's a pony versus a squid.
Yeah, and they do fight. We know that. Bill the Pony turns around and he puts up his dukes. And so it is really a squid versus well, here's something fun. There's a Lord of the Rings video game. There's like a million of them, but one of them is a JRPG, like a turn-based Japanese role-playing game.
Yeah.
And there is a fight against the Watcher in the Deep that when I was a little kid, couldn't get past. I was like, fuck this! I couldn't figure it out.
Just run into the mine.
You can't! You gotta fight! Oh, God. So shitty. Anyway. Yeah, so they literally, when the Bridge of Khazad-dûm falls, they turn around and the door to leave was right there. Which it's got to feel bad. And I just love how they all, like, I don't know, the way that grief is dealt with in these books. Like, they leave and then Aragorn, like, very, what's the word I'm trying to, soulfully, like, looks up and he's like, I told you, you old fool. And it's like, oh my God, it's so sad. But realistically, they all are like, we can't sit here and cry because just the shit fuck ton of orcs are there just because the Balrog's not there anymore.
We have to make sure that his sacrifice, like, meant something. Right. So,
and they check on Frodo again. They're like, oh my God. Aragorn's like, oh, they start walking forever, and Frodo's like, falls right on his face, and Aragorn's like, oh, I forgot you got stabbed. Oops. And Sam is like, he's got a huge gash, like, in his fucking head that he just hasn't brought up for a long time because he's a tough little cookie. But
then they all, like, faint, and they're like, we should probably take care of these. They're very tiny.
There's a moment where Aragorn's looking at Sam's gash, and he's like, well, it's a good thing that blade wasn't poisoned, because if it was, you would be so dead right now.
And is this where they reveal that he has the mithril?
Yeah.
The mithril shirt, so he looks, and it's just a really bad bruise. It's like a bulletproof vest, basically.
Yeah, it's cool.
They got a bullet to the chest, and he got a like it's not that he was just fine. It's like what would happen if you got shot with a gun and you had a bulletproof vest on.
Yeah. It still hurts, and it's like he still needs to be tended to. It's just like it's never going to go through all the way.
Yeah, it like, didn't kill him.
I love Gimli's reaction. He's just like, holy shit. And then he's like, how much did Bilbo tell you that cost? He was wrong. Like,
that's worth more than the entire country you're from.
Because
like,
it's not just a mithril shirt. It's like the best mithril shirt of all time. It's like a gold. It's like if you had like a gold bar and it like had been it is like incomprehensibly.
It's like if you had a shirt made of Bitcoin.
Oh my god, his Ethereum shirt saved him from those scammers.
It's because you have access to your own keys, man. That's why it's so safe. That's why no one can stab you.
It's decentralized. You didn't die because it's decentralized. He decentralized that blade when it hit him in the shoulder, not the stomach.
The orc's blade's in the chain now. It's in the blockchain.
And it'll be there forever. You can look at it.
You can access it anytime you want.
Oh my god. And it's going up, it's going up, it's going up! Fuck, Moria! There's a demon in Moria. It's all down.
Durin's Bane is when Bitcoin crashes.
Yeah. Durin's Bane is when some 15-year-old Russian kid destroys the Bored Ape Yacht Club or whatever.
Yeah, we sort of buried the lead on that. It's the Bitcoin mine of Moria. There's like servers running in there.
It's so hot, and that's the reason you can't buy a fucking graphics card.
That's where the lava's from. The servers were so hot it melted the rock. And Balin killed himself because he didn't want to do it
because he lost everything. And and he hired a bunch of tech support guys who came and killed all his friends. Oh man. Danylo, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Would you? So they pause and they tend their injuries, and then they're like, "Hey, look, that's Lothlorien. That's like the best place ever." Would you like to talk about Lothlorien and Lady Galadriel?
Sure. Well, so they all, after Moria, they all sort of walk to their next checkpoint, which is a forest where all the elves live called Lothlorien. And they don't know how to meet up with them. So they just sort of start walking, and Legolas is like a different kind of elf. He's like a wood elf, and these are like the high elves. So he like can sort of, broach a truce or something like that. But they all live in the trees on little platforms. And they meet these high elves, and they're like greeted with like suspicion, and like even Legolas is sort of treated suspiciously, and he's the only one who can like speak the language. And I think this was a really cool scene where they're like, there's feuds between the dwarves and the elves, and everyone's like, okay, so you're carrying the ring, so everyone's good except Gimli needs to wear a bag on his head because he can't see where this is because he's a dwarf.
This is my favorite. Can we talk about fantasy tropes for just 1 second? This is my favorite fantasy trope, is that elves and dwarves do not get along. It is my favorite, and I'm team dwarf all the way, baby. I love dwarves so goddamn much.
Well, and they try to get into it where Gimli's like, it's because they did this, and they're like, it's because they did this, and Aragorn's like, we don't have time for this right now.
It's like, because the elves are mad that he actually talks to Legolas about this for a little. He's like, well, the dwarves found the Balrog, and then Gimli's like, we didn't fucking do it on purpose, and Legolas is like, I didn't say that. All I said was that you found it.
But then Aragorn's like, you know what? We're all the same, so if you're gonna blindfold Gimli, you gotta blindfold all of us. And Boromir's like, wait, hold on a second. Aragorn's like, come on, man. And Boromir's like, fine. And then the elves are like, that's more trouble than it's worth. Gimli, you're fine.
Yeah. But hey, that's friendship, man. That's real shit right there, man. That's awesome.
Well, and then Gimli's like super... They like convince them, and Gimli's like... And they're like, oh, Gimli, you're like the only dwarf who has ever seen Lothlorien and will ever see it, probably. And he like takes it like as an honor. He like bows and is super respectful, and it's great. I love that Gimli's not a clown.
I know. This is what I was talking about in that, like, this is the first part of what I was talking about in, like, The Hobbit, how they completely switch how, like, dwarves are represented, and he's, like, super honorable and respectful, and hilariously in love with Galadriel. Which is very sweet, and I think it's, don't they say that, like, you can come in here, but you can't even fucking smell the lady of the woods. He's like, okay, I'm sorry. So they heal them, they rest. I don't remember how long they rest for, but
it's like, I mean, time is like,
yeah, it feels different.
Doesn't it feel
here.
like it's been like a week or 2 months, but it's really been a lot longer or something like that, and time has like diluted or something. I think the Lothlorien part I really liked it. Like the way it's described, it's like described as another alien dimension, and this was,
I know, it's so cool.
Yeah, this was sort of like what I was talking about last time, where like the elves feeling like aliens. Like it really is, like everything's like super saturated, and like the flowers are made of gold, and like the sky looks different. And
yeah, I love Lothlorien. And here in so they can't, there's like a night where they can't go to sleep, and so Sam and Frodo start walking around, and they meet the Lady of the Wood. They meet Galadriel,
and she's like the queen of the elves in this area. This like, and it's basically, because in my mind I always saw like Rivendell and this place, like Lothlorien, are sort of the same, but Rivendell's more just like a peaceful place, where this is like a pocket dimension of like elvish magic in like a more intense way.
Yeah,
and Galadriel's like the queen of it.
Yeah, she is. She's super powerful, and like the Lothlorien has like golden trees that are always golden. It's just that in the winter they're a little less golden, but even still, it's like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
And Galadriel's like, "We're so sorry you came during winter. This isn't even as cool as it can possibly be." And Sam's like, it's fine. And she's like, we're so sorry. Here's a picture or whatever. Does she give her something? Like, this is how gold the leaves actually are. And Sam's like, okay.
Okay, thank you. Sweet picture, thank you. And Galadriel's like, hey, look at my, do you want to do acid and look at this painting?
I got a bowl. It's super shiny. You want to look into it?
And they're like, And Sam's like, I want to go first. And then he looks and he sees his best friend is dead. And his home is getting fucked up and destroyed. All the trees are getting chopped down. And he's like, well, how do I stop that? And Galadriel's like, I wouldn't.
So they look into, and that's the mirror of Galadriel, which is like, it shows the past and the present and maybe the future, potential futures. So it really doesn't show anything.
No.
She's like, it could be real, it could be fake, it could be what's true in your heart, it could be what you want to see, it could be what you don't want to see. And like, why are you showing this to us?
Can you just give me like $10 or like something I could use?
And Sam looks into it, and it's like his neighbor is like tearing down his barn, and he's like, no!
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that could happen.
And then Frodo looks into it, and he sees like a bunch of weird shit, and it's like, is that Gandalf? And he's like, is that Bilbo?
Yeah.
And then he sees like a bunch of weird images, and then he sees he sees maybe a big scary eyeball. Like, what? Danylo, do you think the Eye of Sauron is like a real eye, like how it is in the movie, or do you take it as more of a metaphor? This is also a point of discussion.
I mean, from what so far reading, I mean, this is the only time there's like a literal eye. Like, I think in the bowl, or in the mirror of Galadriel, he sees an actual eye.
Yeah.
And I like to imagine it's cool and evil, like in the movies, which is very cool. But I think so far what I've been imagining in like in Mordor, there isn't a tower with a giant eyeball. Like, the Eye of Sauron is like a concept of like dark watchfulness throughout the land.
It's like the birds and the and all that shit.
And
like
the
that's
orcs
the Eye of
and
Sauron.
Like it can be creeping under any shadow. It's not one big eyeball on a tower.
Yeah. I agree. So he looks in to the mirror, and he sees the eye, and he looks up, and he's like, hey, you're pretty cool. Do you want this? and he goes to give her the ring, or propositions her for the ring, and she really wants it. Like, there's like a moment where it's scary. It's the moment in the movie where she like turns green.
And she's like, don't you dare, if you give it to me, the world will end.
Yeah, and it's like, whoa. When he tried to give it to Gandalf, something similar happened. It's just something with giving these powerful people the most powerful thing of all time makes them a little upset.
Well, and she has one of the elven rings.
She does. Yeah. So if she had two, I mean, fuck. That would be fucked up.
But hey, at least all these people except Boromir are like, you shouldn't give it to me.
So they stay in Lothlorien for a while, and then they're like, well, we can't just stay here. We do have to leave. And Boromir's like, we should stop fucking around. We should just go back to Gondor. We should just go to Gondor.
Come back to my house.
Yeah. We could talk, we could drink beer, we could play Mario Kart, we could hang out,
fine.
Man. And Aragorn is like, well, that does sound pretty sweet, but unfortunately we should go to hell.
Doesn't that sort of delay what we have to do? Can't we just go straight there? And Boromir's like, no, really, we got a really cool place, and it's safe. It's totally safe, man.
It's 2 levels. It's 1 level, but like it's like a big room. It's a big room. Like we could just hang out in a big room. But no, they're like, we got to go to Mordor, buddy. So they do, and they get a bunch of sweet boats. And
Sam hates the boats.
Right.
He's always hated boats. I thought this was very funny.
And then
when he's on it, he's like, it's not that bad, but I still will never do this again.
And then they each get a magic cloak, which it's not it like is camouflaged. It doesn't really turn you invisible. It like matches your surroundings.
Yep.
They get rope. Finally, they get rope.
Like, yes, finally. The reason we couldn't save Gandalf is because we couldn't throw him a rope.
You couldn't just like, here, grab this. And then they get lembas bread, which is just like it doesn't really taste
super
like anything,
bread.
but it's got like 2,000 calories and all the micronutrients you need for the day, or your macronutrients.
It's like a protein shake in bread form.
It's the best protein shake of all time.
It's a Cliff Bar. It's basically just a Cliff Bar.
It is for hiking. And then they each get a sweet present. Aragorn gets he gets a sheath, which okay.
Was he just carrying? He wasn't just carrying it around like bareback. It's like, I'm glad I'm not cutting my leg every time I step forward.
He gets a sheet, and he gets he's like, your elf girlfriend gave this to me to give to you, and he's like, oh, my lady Unwin.
And doesn't he like say a poem about two people in love, and then everyone's like, oh, I wonder what that was about.
Anyway, what's my present?
For the forbidden love between a human and an elf. And he's like, I really like that poem. And everyone's like, okay, man.
Okay. Anyway, do I get my belt of gold? And he's like, If Boromir gets a big belt of gold, which is just like, it's like, how do we make him
wrestling belt?
He gets
like a WWE.
Yeah, he starts cutting promos on everybody. Let me tell you something. Galadriel, you sit here in Lothlorien. What? Boromir gets a belt of gold, and Merry and Pippin get silver belts, which is a huge, like, fuck you. Boromir gets a sweet one. You two idiots get the silver one. Legolas gets a sweet bow. To Sam, he gets a box of dirt. Sam gets a box of dirt with like a special tree in it.
And she's like, if you take this back home, if you don't die, this is going to be the stuff that goes out of this dirt is going to make you king of everything. This is how good this stuff's going to be.
And then sweet Gimli, she's like, I don't really feel comfortable giving you anything. And he's like, I just want your hair.
And And I think she gives him not one, but 2 strands.
3 strands.
Oh, 3. There we go.
3 strands of her hair. And he's like, that's all I wanted.
And he was like honored. He's like, this will be the prize of the dwarves of my family for the rest of
I love it.
eternity. That was very cool.
And she gives Frodo a small holy water.
Mm-hmm. A little vial of holy water to keep around his neck.
That will be so unbelievably important 2 books from now. He has this life-savingly, critically important that he got this. For in dark places when all other lights go out. It's a good thing they're going to the darkest, scariest place of all time.
Oh, the place this should be helpful in when you go to the place that's getting darker every day.
So they go to they're traveling downstream, and Sam, he's like, hey, what's that? He's like, what's that? There's like alive driftwood back there. He's like, what is that?
Looks like a weird fish man, gray dude, looks like a fish, big feet.
And Aragorn's like, that's Gollum. He's been following us for years. I can't remember a time he wasn't following us. Like, okay. And they get a bunch of orcs pop out of the trees, and they start like shooting arrows at them. There's like a little fight on the boats, but it's fine, except that it's so not fine when they find out that the Nazgul can fucking fly. On one of their fell beasts, and Legolas.
Wait, I must have missed this part. Wait, the Nazgul can fly like on a...
I don't know if you know that it's the Nazgul, but the orcs, there's like a flying creature that Legolas shoots out of the air.
Oh, that's right.
It is one of their fell beasts. They're like dragons that they can fly.
Ooh.
So they pass the Argonath, which is the big, like...
the big people who are like, please don't go any further.
Yeah, it's the big statue from the film. You may remember the big statues of like the 2 guys like trying to give you a high five, which is the ancient. That is like you've entered Gondor. Like Gondor's not a city. The city's Minas Tirith. Gondor is the
country.
Land. And they go to the Hill of Sight. Which is called Amon Hen. I don't know how you say it, and I don't care, so don't write in.
And it's because you can see everything from there?
Yeah, literally, you can see everything, even like magic, ancient things. And this is where Frodo's like, they're like, Frodo, you gotta choose where we go next. You're like the most important guy of all time. You have the ring. We got to follow you wherever we go.
And we're at a straight tie, so.
Right. Yeah, they can't decide, and so he's like, just give me an hour. And then Boromir's like, I can't do that. There's no way.
Yeah, so Frodo goes on a walk, and then he's like, man, I'm thinking about everything that's happened to me in this book. And then Boromir's like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, right behind him. You're taking a while to think about this.
And Boromir says, he's like, listen, nobody believes me, man. Nobody trusts me, but you trust me, right? I'm a good guy, man. I'm a good guy. I just need $15.
You just gotta give me the ring.
Yeah, I just need some money, man. I just need the ring, man. He's scratching his arms. Hey, man, come on, man.
Man, I'll just let me put my hands around your neck, and then give me the ring.
Yeah. Just let me kill you. I'll just take it. No big deal.
Just let me kill you, and I'll take the ring. It's fine. It'll be fine.
And which is what he does. It scares the shit out of.
It was like actually scary.
It is scary, yeah. And then he puts the ring on, and then he runs away, and then Boromir's like, "What have I done? No!"
Turns out that was a mistake.
And then Frodo, he sees like ancient. He sees like ghost army. He sees like from the Hill of Seeing. He's like, what are all these ghosts going to war for? Every single
because
time,
he has the ring on, right? So
yeah,
he can like
sees
see
the other realm.
Yeah.
Every single time Frodo's by himself, he sees like a ghost or something, or like some omen of ill portend that it really is like, you gotta turn around. Or just like throw it in the river, man. Just fucking throw it in the river.
It's crazy that he's not more scared.
So he hears now he feels like the eye of Sauron is about to notice him. And then he hears a voice who's like, take off the ring, take it off now. And so he does before they get spotted.
And what was the voice? Was that just him remembering that Gandalf was like, never put it on? He's like, oh yeah, I'll take it off.
Well, I think it is Gandalf.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it is like from, because spoiler alert,
He might come back, he might not.
he might come back. Okay, so he takes off the ring and he's like, this ring is making all my cool adult friends really mad at me. I'm just gonna go by myself. And then it, like, the scene shifts to the rest of the Fellowship, and they're like, Boromir's gone, Frodo's gone. Uh-oh.
They've been
I think I know what
gone
happened.
for a while. Do I hear like someone's like yelling? I think I hear someone yelling.
I hear the sound of, like, robbery over there. Like, I don't know what that is.
And then doesn't Boromir stumble back like in tears? He's like, Frodo's gone.
Yeah, he does. And then
Something scared him away. And everyone's like, something. He's like, I don't know, man.
So Aragorn runs towards the top of the hill, and then Sam's like, that's wrong. I know where he's going. And so Sam goes with Frodo, and he catches him trying to get into one of the boats.
Yeah, the
They have
boat's like
this
moving by
conversation.
itself, and
Yeah,
Sam's
they have
like,
this
"There you are."
conversation, and then they go together, and
yep,
they will
just the
not
two of them.
be together again until the end of the third book. The Fellowship
I
has
thought
broken.
it was like really intense when they're like, all right, we're gonna go by ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, that was like I know that happens in the movies, but like it had like a different weight, like a, oh shit.
Yeah.
And also like but they just started, you know?
I know, it's so, you're like, you were just with somebody who knew which way to go, and now you don't know which way to go. If only there was some little creep who knew which way to go, and then you could just go with him.
The end, this got me. The end of the chapter, the Great River, right before the last chapter, it said the 10th day of their journey was over, whatever. The last stage of the quest was before them. And like, there's two books. I don't know if it's the last.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
If you mean the last stage is get to Mordor, then sure, it's the last stage. But
and that could be most of the thing.
So that's the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. So we have to give it our new rating system from the Hobbit.
Right. I would say this book, I think, establishes a lot of what would become fantasy tropes. It also takes a long time to get going, I think. I don't think that's controversial to say. But all in all, in this, like, taking it as a novel as a whole, and not how it relates to the other two books, I think I would give this book 0 mistborns.
I also was going to give this book 0 mistborns.
Yeah.
I think I thought the writing was beautiful. I think the plot points that like maybe like we all take for granted because maybe we know the story well or it's in like the cultural imagination, I think still like knowing them are given a lot of weight. And I loved the descriptions of nature and all the world building was good, but in a way that also didn't feel like it got in the way or took away from the story, you know?
You know why that is? They're walking in the world. And so they're like see
literally
the
just
world.
walking.
Yeah.
They're not fast traveling.
No, and they're not using a fucking Adium highway or whatever, iron highway. They walk places. And it's important and I love it.
Well, and it's the, you know, in the UK now, when I think in olden times, there's like the culture of just walking around as like a thing you can do. Like I was watching The Crown the other day, and there was like all the queen and like her daughter are like, we're on vacation, we're just gonna walk around Scotland.
I know, is that crazy?
Like, and like they have a whole thing of like public land and public treks, you know, and so that all sort of, I feel, comes from this of like having an on-foot experience of a landscape, which, you know, doesn't translate to an action-adventure movie. You know, it's a different thing. And I really liked what this was. And for my tastes, you know, I think more than the movies.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I love the movies, but I mean, this is
Yeah.
It's the
really
fucking Lord of the
compare.
Rings, man. Come on.
Like, I get why people like it more now.
Right. Yeah. And it's so interesting that they really do just, like, something about people you like walking around. It's like, what's the most, like, popular video game of the last 10 years? Breath of the Wild. What's that game? It's about a guy you like walking around.
And you run into stuff, and then you deal with it, and then you walk to the next thing.
It's such, like, an innocent spirit of adventure, and, like, it feels like, oh my God, the peril, and it's like, oh no, I don't know. It's just, and then
there's
stuff
like, the safe areas are safe.
And then there's stuff when Boromir is like gonna fucking kill Frodo and just take it. It's like, man, what a fucking book. I hope you don't mind not hearing from Frodo and Sam for a little bit, because they're not in the complete first half of the next book.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
It is, the way it's separated is that it's the remainder of the Fellowship for the first half, and then the second half is Frodo, Sam, and Gollum.
I thought it was every other chapter.
No, wrong. Well, hang on a minute. I remember it as it being split. Oh, it's every other chapter is Aragorn and company and Pippin and Merry, and then
so
book
a double
2
split.
Is,
I see.
yes,
I see.
And then because they get lost. I don't know if you know this. Aragorn kicked the helmet. He really broke his toe, and that's why he yelled so bad, because he was so sad that the Merry and Pippin, he thought they died in the orc pile.
And Viggo Mortensen actually kicks the helmet in the book too, right? That happens.
Yes, he does. And he has a sword fight with a guy, and he blocked the knife for real. He really did that.
I'm glad it also happened for real in the books. I think that would be disappointing if I found out that it was just acted out in the books.
There is the Two Towers, I'm excited to get into it. It starts with a huge battle, like, right away, and doesn't let its foot off the gas, I don't think. A lot of people I think like the Two Towers the best, because it's got, Treebeard's in it, the Ents, the fucking Helm's Deep is in it. Come on.
I mean, I'm just surprised how much I, like, fucked with the beginning part that everyone says is boring and pointless. I really liked. So, yeah.
I like it when my friends are safe, and I know they're going to be in danger.
And then, like, when the prose is good.
Isn't it crazy that the Balrog is in the same book as, like, a birthday party?
As a Goldberry, just the woman, the river spirit in the corner who doesn't say anything.
His trad wife.
I was just thinking, I was watching I was just reading people's opinions on, like, this book, and I don't know what it is, or if, like, it's just high schoolers, but it, like, bothers me when people are, like, bored when what they think the story isn't happening.
Yeah, I know. It bothers me too. It's like the story is happening.
Like, or like the author is clearly still saying the author's not trying to be boring. Like, clearly this is in here for a reason. Like, maybe we can engage with that a little bit, and people are like, "Oh, it's just boring and old fashioned," and I can't
Purple prose.
Like, just because it's not immediately apparent for you why something is in there doesn't mean it's pointless. You know?
Well, like, we live in the fucking. Listen, I guess we haven't even gotten 90 minutes yet. Let's talk about book talk. Listen, I think it's great that authors are discovered on book talk. I hate saying that, but that's what it's called. Book talk, whatever. A lot of those books are very fast, and they're very easy to read, and I think are what are getting people into reading. So if you read something that, like a fantasy novel you saw on Book Talk that also has, like, goblins and dragons, because there's a lot of them, and then you try to seek out the other books that have that kind of shit, they're gonna be different. And just because they're different doesn't, like, there's this thing where people, like, oh, it was boring. Like, oh, I didn't like that book, it was boring.
Or people need it to be exactly what they expected, or else they think it's bad. You know, like, not everything out there is there to please you the exact way you want it to be pleased. You know, I find part of the joy of experiencing art in the world is, like, you start into things and then it's not what you expected, and it ends up being its own thing, and you learn to like it, and it changes you as a person, and you grow and learn. Like, that's Like, if I was, like, spoon-fed everything I've always wanted, I'd still be reading, Cat in the Hat,
Yeah.
Like,
just basic shit. And I mean, if that's... if you... Just give this kind of thing a chance, okay? Don't give up on the Lord of the Rings just because it starts with a birthday party.
Or like, think about, hey, if you're feeling a certain negative way about something, you can think about, like, hey, why? Is it because I'm not getting something? Is it because, the author's doing something different? Maybe you could learn something more about yourself and books and writing. And then at the end of the day, if you don't like it, then that's fine. I think I like eating fast food every once in a while, but like if the only thing you eat is fast food, that's not healthy and it's going to be boring. And sometimes you want, a steak dinner, a nice big chewy steak to chew down on.
Yeah.
And that's what Tom Bombadil is, just a big old steak boy.
Yeah, I want to eat Tom Bombadil. I'll tell you, one thing I took from the book is I want to fucking eat that guy.
I want to take a bath with him and eat him and sing a little song about it.
Wow. Sing a little song like chew his little butt into my mouth, eat his little butt. Well, anyway.
Do you have anything else to say about this book? I know it is near and dear to your heart, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's good. I mean, I love these books. I can't wait to tally forth. But I mean, yeah, I don't know what can be said that hasn't already been said by millions of white men throughout history.
And this is a book with no women.
Yeah.
I don't know if we brought that up.
I thought,
but there's not a single woman in it.
Arwen
is like Arwen like sits in the corner for 2 seconds and looks at them, and like I think that's the only.
Yeah, well, Galadriel's in it, but that's it.
Oh, I guess Galadriel, yeah.
Yeah, there's no women in it.
But she's big and mean, so
yeah, she is just like all women.
Big, mean, and scary.
We could talk about this more at the end, but I have this is not a theory substantiated by anything, but I have a theory as to why there's no women in it. I think like it is Tolkien dealing with his loss of innocence, and the people around him who are also going through that in the war were men. So like that is what and that's like not an excuse, but that is I think why there's no women in the Fellowship.
And I think it's one of those things where, I think it's fine to write something that has all men in it, as long as that's not the only thing or the best thing.
Right.
And I think the issue is that these books in the fantasy genre and in a lot of like, nerd circles are seen as the only thing and the best thing, and I think that's when it's an issue when there aren't any women, because then you get a bunch of neckbeards complaining that the Lord of the Rings show has women in it,
right?
And you're like, oh boy.
And it's like it doesn't matter, like the fact that these characters are men is not important, other than it's just like men, capital M, as the race. Like they're not like creatures with a gender. They're like embodiments
fairy tale characters.
Yeah, they are. They're like embodiments of a trait.
Yeah.
They could be blobs. Like it doesn't matter. It's just like,
well, and then it's like, people can learn from it. Just like, you can learn from Little Red Riding Hood, even though she's like a girl, Yeah,
which is I have never read that book because a girl's the main character.
I want to see a gender swapped Little Red Riding Hood. I think that's what this society's missing.
Do they? Who would you cast in the gender swapped Hollywood Little Red Riding Hood remake?
Idris Elba.
Whoa, that sounds awesome!
And he has a gun.
And he just shoots the wolf?
He just shoots the wolf. And then shoots the grandma, and then
shoots himself.
And then takes over.
Takes over as what? What is he in charge of? Everything?
The house, everything.
So you want to? So hang on. You want to make a movie about a man who breaks and enters a home and he kills everybody in it, and then is the owner,
and then is in charge? Yeah. Like all men should be.
Yes, good. No, that's like with Sauron. He wants to put all men in charge. That's no good. That's true. All the Nazgul are men. And he wants he wants to have a patriarchy. Can you imagine if Sauron was the president of the U.S.? These whiny liberals, man, they don't know how good they have it. Okay, what if Sauron was the president?
Sauron. Who's Sauron's running mate? Sauron and Matt Gaetz as vice president.
The two most evil men in all of like reality. Holy shit, can you imagine? He's just like, you see him like running, he's got like a spiky helmet on.
Campaign sign that's just like, but it's like written in like the evil Elvish, and then it says like Matt Gaetz. It's just a black.
Sauron, we want to interview you about Matt Gaetz has been flying certain kinds of people out to his ranch. I'm not going to talk about that. I want
Matt
to talk
Gaetz
about the
is building
economy.
a huge tower in Orlando, and it's...
He's calling it Orthanc. I'm not sure what that means. This is all fake news trying to redirect you.
Have you seen it? Have you seen this tower?
No. It's hard to miss, sir. It's right in the middle of Miami.
You're in the middle of Miami.
Made that tire.
ChatGPT made my tires.
What, Sauron?
Yeah, I drive a Mercedes and
with fake AI tires.
Okay, folks.
Sorry, folks. All right, everybody. If you're reading along, we'll be reading book 3 of The Two Towers, which is about halfway through.
Yeah.
And
remember,
oh yeah,
one of those towers is in Orlando.
Yeah. And the other one is the Washington Monument. And that's just true. That's Barad-dûr and Orthanc. They're real, and they're in the United States. All right, folks. Hey, stay hard, huh?
That's would be our new sign off. Hey, hooligans.
Stay hard.
Hooligans. Stay hard.
Bye, everybody. Stay hard.
Stay hard.